I'm Mr. MegaManFan, and today on the PC Engine Files, you're getting 5 for the price of 1. That's right, I'm testing 5 import games for PC Engine on my TurboGrafx 16 using the computer converter, as it's called. It's a rather strange looking generic box, but inside of it is a genuine PC Engine to TurboGrafx 16 HuCard adapter. So I bought some import games, and the first one I got is Super Momotaru Densetsu, Super Peach Boy Dream, and at first I thought it was going to be either a strategy game or an arcade game, but it turns out to be more of a Mario Party style board game where you roll dice and move this train around the screen, and then you land on tiles and take whatever action it tells you to take when you get there, which is admittedly a little hard for me to decipher since all of the options that you're given are in Japanese. Now, if I'd known that, I might have reconsidered whether or not I wanted this one, but it was a loose hue card that was only $1, and it was a Peach Boy game, and I was already doing an order where I was getting a Super Famicom Peach Boy game complete in box, so I just kind of went with it thinking it'll be whatever it is, and I'll either like it or I won't. And I'm not saying that I don't like it, it's just I don't really know what to do once I land on a space. I can move around the board, I can roll the dice, and after that it's just a guessing game, so I need a patch of some kind to make any further progress. The same holds true for Jaiskin Necromancer, which too was only $1, although this one wasn't loose, it was inside a HuCard case, but no cover artwork was included, which I find really strange. Why would you keep the game and the case, but not keep the artwork? Whatever. This one is an RPG, and we will, you know what that means. It means you're only going to get so far if you don't read Japanese. But this one's a curious one in that it was actually released for the Wii Virtual Console back in the 2000s without being patched. It was released in all regions in Japanese. But I believe the homebrew scene, the ROM hacking scene, whatever you want to call it, has solved this problem. I'm given to understand there is a patch available, so if I dump this game and patch it, or if I find a pre-existing one that's already patched, I should be able to play Jisuken Necromancer by just loading it up on my Super SD System 3 and going from there. It certainly looks interesting, I just don't know what any of these people are saying to me, or vice versa. But you can see some of the basic tropes, hit points, magic points, etc. Then we move on to F1 Triple Battle, which, once again, only $1. And this one I figured, well, it's a racing game, so it's not going to be that hard to figure out, even though my cat seems to be complaining about it in the background. Yeah, Tango, sorry, you can't play this. You don't have hands. Sorry, that's an old Jacques joke from JonTron. And anyway, racing games, they're pretty much the same in all regions. You can even see all the important information here is all in English. We're at the Brazilian Grand Prix, round 1, free practice lap. You're going for the fastest speed. Even the names of the other racers are in English, so it's pretty easy to play most racing games that are imports. Although I wonder if that's supposed to be the wind blowing across the screen, or whether that's my hue card making bad contact with the game converter. Tango has opinions about that. I don't know. I don't know if that's supposed to be the wind or not. This one, it seems very hard to drift around the turns. You get up any kind of speed, you go into a turn, you're going to slam all the way from one side to the other almost immediately, unless you let off the gas and or brake really hard. And even if you do, you still drift very wide. I'm sure I can quote unquote get good with enough practice, but on this quote unquote free practice, it's a little bit tough. On the plus side, it does shift gears automatically for you. You don't have to use up and down to go from first, second, third, fourth, and fifth gear. I mean, you can, but if you're just speeding up, it automatically shifts into the next gear. So when you're on the straightaways, you can pick up speed really fast. Here's another racing game, F1 Pilot. I like this one a little better because it actually gives you the cockpit perspective as opposed to looking down at the racetrack a la pole position. This time you're actually in the driver's seat. Although maybe the road doesn't look as good as it does in the other game, but the perspective makes it worth it. I feel it's a good trade-off, and it's also a little easier to control. Obviously, I swung wide around that turn, but I can actually get accommodated to it between the speed I want to be going and the speed I need to go around these cars, and slow down accordingly and not seem to drift as wide as I did before. Still drifting out too much, but I feel like if I turn before I go around the corners, it'll probably be a little bit better. I was just also trying to maneuver around these cars at the same time, so I was swinging wide to get around them and causing myself to go over the road line into that forbidden zone, into the area where it's going to slow down your car tremendously. But this seems enjoyable, and I like the addition of the mountain background, which shifts as you turn different ways around the track. It's nice that they thought to include some visual appeal as opposed to just the cars, the race, and the track. Not every racing game gives you the extra with a landscape in the background that moves as you turn, so I appreciate the thought that went into this. Pack-in Video, you did a pretty good job on this one. Not perfect, but more than acceptable. Finally, here we have Yokai to Chucky, or Yokai to Chuki, depending on which way you want to pronounce it. And this game came out on so many platforms I can't even list them all, but you may have previously seen me playing it on Famicom, and it is indeed the same game. And this game was so mass-produced that it's pretty cheap on any platform. It was $1 on Famicom, it's $1 on PC Engine. You're not going to spend a lot for this game. You just take out all these monsters as they come along, you collect the money, you collect the power-ups, and there's a weird little gambling mechanic that comes up when you run into this giant frog, and he immediately challenges you to a game of dice, but I don't know what we're rolling, whether it's a winning combination or a losing combination, because I initially seemed to be doubling up my money at every turn, and then all of a sudden it went south, and I lost all my money, and apparently losing all your money in this game kills you because I got a game over. Well, I suppose losing all your money in real life would kill you too, because then you couldn't afford food or electricity or rent or anything, so maybe that's not too inaccurate, but either way, that ended my session of Yokai to Chuki really quick. But that doesn't mean I won't come back to it, because hey, it's a complete box PC Engine game for only $1. You just can't beat that, and it's a very straightforward platforming game aside from this one little gambling mechanic section, so I recommend it. I recommend it on Famicom as well, or an English language patch if you've got one and you want to play it that way as well. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. This has been the PC Engine Files. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week, where we'll probably just do one game.